he's a Dominican Haitian. You know, he lives in the Dominican Republic. His church is Haitian predominantly. Some of them are, I think most of them are Dominican Haitians. We've had almost all, even Dominican Haitian churches in the Dominican Republic have their services in Creole, which I'm stopping that in every church that is mature enough that I can stop it in, because they all speak fluent Spanish. And, you know, I've been telling them, I'm saying, you can't win anyone in your church unless they can speak Creole, unless they're Haitian descent. So I said, this country is the Dominican Republic, and its language is Spanish. So you need to have services in Spanish, because you're never going to win just a Dominican person that can't speak Creole. One of the things you have to understand about the Dominican Republic is, I've told you, I know several times, that you know, after Haiti after France had stripped Haiti of all of its gold and silver and diamonds, it basically abandoned Haiti and allowed the Haitian slaves, that basically those that were slaves, I'll call them the elite slaves that were servants of the governmental French government there. Once the French pulled out, then those slaves had more predominance and more clout than anyone else, and so that's who took over as dictators. That's where Doc and Papa Doc came from. They were in those high echelon of the slaves. They formed their own government. They formed their own, and it was a dictatorship, and they formed their own military. They already had a developed military, so they just, you know, continued on with it, but they had to develop an order and a government over it all. And they were in government several years before the Spaniards pulled out of the Dominican Republic. Once the Spaniards once they finally stripped the Dominican part of the island, which is 2/3 of the western part, and Haiti has 1/3. That's the Dominicans, or the Spaniards gave them 1/3 of the western part of the island in payment for the African slaves in the slave trade, that's where all those people came from. Those in Haiti, they, of course, they're from African descent, of course. They do have some French marriage. It took, well, it really wasn't marriage, but just there were several French that had children by those Haitian slaves. And in the same way, the Dominicans they're mixed people. They're African slaves mixed with Taínos, Indians, and Spaniards. And for the most part, they're probably lighter colored in skin than the Haitians. I don't know the reasoning behind that altogether, but it just because they were there more years, I would say. They were there a long time. But after the Spaniards left the Dominican Republic and they pulled out, well, the Haitians immediately overran the Dominican Republic and overthrew it with their military power and what they had. The Dominicans just weren't developed enough to withstand that, and so the Haitians took over the whole island for 24 years and put it under the Haitian flag, and so that caused a lot of intermingling and even intermarriage in that 24-year period. There were a lot of Haitians took Dominican wives, or a lot of Dominican men took Haitian wives. They were all it was just one country for 24 years. But after 24 years, it developed into a civil war, and the Dominicans won that war. And they drove the property line back to the original property line. And and the Dominicans became allies of the United States very quickly. And they patterned their last dictator's name was Trujillo. And they assassinated him and then they got the Americans' help, and they patterned their they patterned their government structure after America. Almost every law in the Dominican Republic is identical to the laws in America. They have the exact same judicial system. They have the same democracy as far as the Senate, the House of Representatives. But the problem is the Dominican Republic as far as land surface is concerned, it's probably maybe a little over half the size of Arkansas, the whole country. And they are way top heavy on government. I mean, the government's rich, the people are poor. That's just the way it is. And the government's going to keep it that way, you know. I mean, what they call a state is about the size of Pulaski County. And in that state, they got House of Representatives and senators and governors and, and mayors. And it's unbelievable. So it's way top heavy as far as government's concerned. And they basically just have the rich and the poor. There's not even middle class really hardly there. It's amazing. They keep those people happy. Those people are a pretty happy group of people. You go over there, you just feel comfortable. I mean, you could go over there your first time. You'd probably feel comfortable walking up and down the streets in any place in the Dominican Republic at night. In Haiti, you wouldn't feel comfortable over there with guards on each side of you in the daytime. You would know that you're in a dark area. It's in fact, the gangs have taken over many cities there. It's almost martial law there. It's just, there's no telling how many murders go unchecked and all kinds of things that goes on there, and it's in bad shape. The worst I've ever seen it in since I've known about it, since I've had anything to do with it with Brother Liniger. But in the Dominican Republic then, what I was getting to with all this background is that the Dominicans still have a resentment to the Haitians for taking their country over and putting it under one flag for 24 years. The Haitians have a big resentment against the Dominican Republic for winning the Civil War and driving them back to their country, and the Dominican Republic is by far better off in every way. You know, government, financial, socially, everything. That country is definitely in better condition all the way around than Haiti is. And so I think Haiti probably blames the Dominican Republic, because of all what happened in the Civil War. And so there's big resentment between the two countries. In fact, when I first went to the Dominican Republic, I had a big question. One of my reasons for even going there was when I found out that we had, like somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 churches in Haiti, and not one church in the Dominican Republic. When I went there was a church. Brother Diego worked under a brother from Haiti by the name of Brother Nicholas. And a Haitian, I don't know the exact rule of law in the Dominican Republic, but there's so many I think it's 3 generations, maybe more than that if in other words, if your great-grandmother, grandfather, or mother or father are citizens of the Dominican Republic and you live in Haiti, you could automatically get citizenship in the Dominican Republic because you had those family ties there. I don't know. I'm just giving you that in assumption because I don't know the exact law on that, but I do know that if you have close up kin, you could leave Haiti and come to the Dominican Republic. Brother Diego had that, and he had some health issues. He went to the Dominican Republic, and he had a church. He had a little group of people, and the people that could move to the Dominican Republic went with him. So there was a church in the Dominican Republic, but it was from the body in Haiti. There was nobody from the Dominican Republic in that church. They were all body members from Haiti that went with Brother Diego to Buenos Aires, which is real close to Santo Domingo, the capital. So when I went there and started the work, and God, blessed it, the brethren in Haiti told Brother Diego to work under me, and he did. He's dead now, but he did. He worked very, very, very closely with us, and God blessed his church. He only had probably maybe 30 people, 25 or 30 people when I went there, but before he died, he had over 100 people in his church. But but what I'm telling you is the Haitian culture is a very, very tight culture and very traditional culture, and those people just will not hardly leave their culture at all. Even in America, I would say we've got more than 50 churches in South Florida, or in all of Florida, that are strictly Haitian churches. And we have more than 50 churches in the New York and upper state area. So there's over 100 Haitian churches in America now. And, they're in Connecticut, they're in Rhode Island, or Massachusetts, or they're in all those states that surrounds New York State and South. And we've got churches in Georgia, churches in Carolina, North and South. Even Louisiana, we don't have too much from Mississippi line going west, but Mississippi going east, there and south. We've got a lot of Haitian churches, but they only have Haitians in their church. I remember when Brother Brown got up several years ago in Fort Lauderdale meeting, and he talked to them about the fact that they are only able to win Haitian people. He said, you're going to have to get to a place that you can develop to where you can win American people and any and all cultures into your church. And, of course, that's going to quit having services in Creole and having them in English. Our language in America is English. And so we worked on that. But it hasn't took yet. And in fact, I just mentioned what Brother Liniger said Brother Brown said several years ago in that meeting down in Fort Lauderdale. I mentioned that this last meeting we had in Fort Lauderdale. Brother George has had me moderate the meeting, and Brother Liniger told him to look to us if he passed away, and he has. But anyway, still, when I went to the Dominican Republic, my question to God was, why do we have all these churches in Haiti and we don't have a church in the Dominican Republic? It's the same island. I didn't even know this. I thought Haiti was one island in the Caribbean, and that's just Haiti on it. I didn't know till I got it in my mind. I need to study about these people. If I'm going to work with Brother Liniger with them, I need to know how to work with them. I need to know their background. When I found out their background, big question in my mind was, what? We're on 1/3 of the island. There's 2/3 of the island. These are all African slaves. They all have almost the same background. And Lord, you've got all these people in the body in Haiti. You don't have one person, one church in the Dominican Republic that are Dominicans? Why? That plagued my mind. That's why I went there. I could not get that out of my mind. That for 6 months, I couldn't even I got to where I couldn't hardly sleep at night. I finally told Sister Smith, I said, if I know anything about God, I know he's dealing with me about that country. And I said, we're going over there. She said, well, what town are we going to? I said, I don't even know. I don't know the towns. She said, well, who do you know over there? I said, I don't know anybody over there. She said, you mean we're going where we don't even know where we're going and you don't even know anybody there? I said, yep, we're going over there. And if God don't do nothing that opens up a door, then I can come home and go to sleep. I can't sleep. So it was... I don't know, maybe the next month that Brother Liniger and I were on a plane on our way to Port-au-Prince, Haiti for a meeting. And on that plane, I asked him, I said, I'd like to get your permission to go to the Dominican Republic. And I told him what I was going through and that I felt like God was dealing with me. And he said, well, Brother Smith, he said, it could be God. He said, go ahead and go over there and see what God does. Well, when we got to that meeting, the second day of that meeting, 7 Dominicans came into that meeting. They'd heard about it. They'd never had anybody from the Dominican Republic that we knew of in one of their meetings. And there was a woman with them, and she was Dominican Haitian. She spoke Creole. So they put them in an area together where she could interpret to them what was being said. Well, the next day, it wasn't me, I don't know who it was, God asked those Dominicans to testify. And so they got to testifying, and the Spirit of God hit those Dominicans, and that place erupted and went crazy. The Spirit of God moved all over the house. While that move was going on, I was standing up on the platform, and I was watching those Dominicans. And Brother Liniger came over to me. He walked over to me while the Spirit was moving. He said, Brother Smith, the Lord just impressed me that those people right there is your door to go into the Dominican Republic. He said, that's your opening right there. He said, I believe God wants you to go over there. So those people, not one of them is in the body today, but those are the people that we dealt with. However, when I came home from that meeting, in October of that year, we had a ministers' meeting right here in Little Rock. And there was a brother went to Brother Liniger, and he told Brother Liniger, he said, Brother Liniger, he said, my wife and I know a man, he's a pastor, has a little church in the Dominican Republic. He said, that man's interested in this message. But he said, we don't have that kind of gift, and there's no way we can do that kind of work. But he said, if you know of anybody that has any feeling for the Dominican Republic, I'd like to put them in touch with this man, because this man is really interested in this message. So Brother Linger said, you need to go see Brother Mickey Smith. He's already got tickets to go to the Dominican Republic in February of next year. This was in October. I'd already made up my mind when I was going and had permission to go. And so that's one of the things, let me stress. I would never, ever go into a city that's not in my city or my surroundings. I wouldn't even probably go in my surroundings without permission from the leading ministry in this body. Because I believe in order. I don't believe any man ought to just go into a town without anybody in this body. No, well, here's why. How do you know who's working in that area? How do you know that somebody's already got something going on there? It's just good order. It's good ministerial courtesy. And so, when God showed me to move from Midland, Texas, the first place God showed me on a map in an absolute, I'll just tell you how it went. I was fasting in prayer in a bedroom, shut up for days, because I knew God done told me to leave Midland. And I knew Brother Don Patton was going to leave this body, and I knew I wasn't following him, and I just knew I had to get out of there. So I went to sleep praying, and I was laying on the bed, and I had a United States map open on my bed. And when I went to sleep during the day, and when I woke up, I was laying down, I woke up, and I looked over at that map, and there was a place on that map that was standing up in a circle, not like that. Standing up on that map just like somebody had a big magnifying glass on it. And when I looked at that, I reached over and looked at that circle, it was standing up. And Fort Smith, Arkansas is what I saw at the very bottom of that circle. I called my cousin, Joe Suppmiller. Brother Eldon Martin had a work in Fort Smith, and he turned it over to Joe Suppmiller. Joe Suppmiller finally closed it down and moved a few families that were there to Wilburton, Oklahoma, and they closed the work in Fort Smith. So I called Brother Suppmiller, and I asked him, I said, what would you think how would you feel about me coming to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and starting to work? He said, I'd be 100% against you. I said, you would? He said, yeah. He said, I already have Don Patton in my front door, which Don Patton had sort of took over the McAllister work where his brother was pastor. There was a big division there. He said, you think I want him in my back door? I said, well, what if I told you he wouldn't have nothing to do with it? He said, I wouldn't believe you for a second. I said, okay, thank you, and I hung up. And I went back to bed, my bedroom, and I told God, I said, God, I cannot go in a city and fight. I'm not building a work out of blood. I just don't feel like it would be right. So I went back to fasting and praying, and the next day I woke up. I went to sleep on that bed on that map again. I looked over, there stood that place like a migrant close standing up over that map. It's phenomenal. I just never will forget this. And I looked at it, and the top of that circle was Springfield, Missouri. I knew I could go to Springfield, Missouri, because everybody thought that was the Vatican of the Assemblies of God, and nobody would want to go there and fight the Vatican. And so I called Brother Clyde Patton and talked to him. I told him everything that was going on. He knew his brother was thinking of leaving this body, and I told him everything that had happened. And he said, Brother Smith, God's talking to you. He said, you got my permission to move to Springfield. But I don't want nobody to know it. I don't want anybody to know that I told you you could do that. He said, I'll cover you, but it has to be under the table. Because I love my brother and I want to save him. And if he knew that I gave you permission to leave him and go to Springfield, Missouri, that would shut off any opportunity I've got of working with him. So he said, I'll cover you. I'll make sure you don't get hurt. But you probably are going to be on the back burner of everybody's minds for a while. So I took that. I said, well, Brother Patton, do you think we ought to call and ask Brother Ray Liniger? I'd be closer to him than anybody. I'd like to have his permission. He said, yeah, that'd be a good idea. Go ahead and call him. So I called Brother Liniger, and he agreed and gave me permission too. So that's why I moved to Springfield, Missouri. Now, why did I tell y'all all that? Oh, so that's how I moved to Springfield, Missouri. And yeah, that's right. I was just alluding to the fact that I ain't never went nowhere that I wasn't given permission by the leading ministry to go. And and I didn't go to the Dominican Republic without permission. Brother Liniger gave me permission. After my first trip over there, he went over there with Sister Liniger and solidified, agreeing that God definitely there was something going on there. He came back and told all the brethren that he gave me permission and that God had started to work in the Dominican Republic, and he'd been there and witnessed it. And so, but getting back to the Haitian Dominican language and culture situation, there's a lot there right now. I'm going to say there's 14 million people in the Dominican Republic population. So what's the population of Arkansas? Somebody know? 3 million. So we got almost 5 times as many people over there in half the country. So you can imagine. And so, and I'd say 2.5 to 3 million of them are Haitians. The rest of them are Dominicans. So, and, the Dominican Republic, their biggest gross national product or import is sugar. There is millions of acres of sugar cane in the Dominican Republic. And of course, it's a tropical island, so they just rotate it. In other words, this so many thousands of acres is ripe and ready to harvest at this time, and when we get this done, this over here will be ready to harvest, and it just keeps going around, because they can harvest year-round. I asked somebody when I went over there, I said, when do y'all plant tomatoes over here? They said, well, you plant them whenever you want to raise tomatoes. I said, when do they get ripe? They said they get ripe any time after you've had them in the ground long enough, and they grow up, and, so people has flower pots with, tomato plants in them and okra in them, and, sometimes I think about how it works over there because I'm thinking what it's going to be like down through eternity in a tropical climate like Eden had. I'm thinking we just have plenty of food growing everywhere, Anyway, besides all that, we're not going to be eating meat, Y'all got that? I was reading the other day where Brother Mark Strite, I never get on Facebook, but I got on there because somebody sent me a picture. And so I clicked on it, and then I saw a posting from Brother Mark Strite, which is Brother Dale Strite's son up in Canada. And he put on there, he said, I set a rat trap on his deck. Way I got it. He said this rat got caught in this rat trap, and the rat trap, when it clicked, it caused the rat trap to fall off, and it flipped all the way down them stairs, and it finally dropped. It finally got hung in the stairs, and that rat was hanging. He was just hanging in the air, but he was caught, but he wasn't dead. It didn't have him where it'd kill him, but he'd been hanging there. And Mark said, I'm one of these guys that I can't He said, I catch spiders and put them outside. I can't kill them. And so he said, when I found that rat, he said, I got that rat off of that strap, and he whimpered off. He said, but the poor thing, he said, he probably died. He said, I felt so bad. He said, it was bad enough just to kill him and, just an instant kill. But to think of what he went through. And then he whimpered off, and he said, no, poor thing, he just was trying to get something to eat. And he said he whimpered off, and he said it's cold out. He said he probably died a terrible death. And he said, I just feel so bad for him. And I wrote him back. I said, Brother Mark, I'm one of them guys that can't kill a spider either. I see them all the time. Like in my house, I'll say, don't worry, buddy, I ain't going to kill you. Just do whatever you're going to do. And I said, if you escape my wife, you'll be doing good, but I can't kill you. And I told Brother Mark, I said, I hate death. And I'll be glad when we're living in a world where death's been eradicated, Of course, there may not be any more pestilences, because that was part of the curse, and the curse will be lifted. So, but I did put on there, Brother Souders used to say, lucky old cow that's standing there when all death is done away with. I never thought about, animals living, but after I read what Brother Souders said, I had to consider it. There'll be animals alive if there ain't no more death. We quit killing them to eat them. They didn't eat any in the garden. They just ate the fruit off the trees. And I don't know, didn't say anything about the vegetables, but maybe they had them. But anyway, I've went along around a big circle here to tell you that in the Dominican Republic, we're still working on, but I do have some Haitian churches that they have their services in Spanish. And they quit having them in Creole. I asked them, I said, do y'all's kids go to school here? Yeah. Do they all speak Spanish? Yeah. Do y'all want them to speak Spanish? Yeah. I said, well, why are you having church in Creole? It's okay with me if y'all want to speak Creole to one another. If you want to speak that language, I think that's good. It's part of your tradition. It's part of your culture. But you need to quit having your services in that. You're never going to have anybody in your church but a Haitian. This is the Dominican Republic. The national language is Spanish. Get over it. Start having your services. But now when a new church comes in, we don't try to change that anytime soon. But anyway, Friday they had the first meeting in Brother Moises' church. He's got a pretty large church. Brother Emilio Green, he just got a gift to bring others in. I mean, he's got several churches that, he's brought in. And where Brother Elias, that's not his gift. He has ministers in his church that he can set out and start another church with. But he never has won anybody in these 20. We went there in 2001, in February of 2001. So it's been 23 years now that I've been going to the Dominican Republic. And we've got, I'll just estimate, I think it would be, I think it'd be honest to say we've got at least 1,000 saints over there and about 15 churches. I don't know how many churches we could have if I'd spend more time over there. I just never have felt, when I first went there, I actually thought about just moving there, like Brother Nick just moved to Haiti. But I just never could get that release from the Lord, and I still don't feel like I can get that release. I feel like I have a responsibility here and even to the body to some extent. So I just don't feel like I can go over and stay, but maybe in the future, since Brother Painter's becoming the pastor here, I'll have more time. I may be able to go over and like stay a month instead of 10. I normally go 10 days to 2 weeks, but anyway, we'll see. But anyway, I just gave you all of that information, just kind of understand, you know. But I was going to tell you, Brother Moises, he's really receiving this message and liking it. He's probably got, I'd say, I think Brother Green said more than 150 people in his church. He's got a pretty good-sized church. And anyway, and then, see, the Dominicans, for a long time, they didn't want to try to win Haitian churches. You know, they said, you know, we got churches in Haiti. Haitians, and you know, God's called you to the Dominican Republic. We need to win. But even Brother Green, well, you know, I'm just going to tell you, there's still that resentment there. They still, you know, it's just underlying in some ways. By the way, I asked God about this. I said, God, why? Why did you start a work in the Dominican Republic? You don't have anybody in Haiti, and you don't have anybody in the Dominican Republic when I first went there. That was a big question in my mind. I didn't find out till after I'd been there for some time that Nick Gruick went to the Dominican Republic and tried to start works there, and he couldn't start one work. If I would have known that, I would have never went there. I'm almost certain of that. I mean, God, maybe the Lord would have dealt with me in a way I don't know, but the way I'm built, I would have thought if Nick Gruick can start all that in Haiti and he can't start nothing in Dominican, ain't no sense in me trying. That's the way I would have looked at it. I would have thought, well, I don't know why we don't have a work there, but I ain't even going to try. You know, I just probably settled it for me. Brother Victor Brown went there and tried to start a work and couldn't. Brother Lloyd Goodman, which was not part of our group, and that was part of a division many years ago, he went there and had a few churches there, but he finally closed it up and left there. In fact, I've got a man in Brother Emilio Green's church now. His name is Brother Beltran. He's a minister. He was of the last church of Lloyd Goodwin's church. He was in that church. He's Haitian. He speaks Creole, French, Dominican, and English very clearly. Good interpreter. So, brother, you know, and he worked under Elias for a while. And he tried, I don't know if he tried Brother Calderon, but he finally, Brother Green, uses him in a great way. In fact, I think he's got him starting a church. But anyway, they're just, you know, that we're still having to work with. Well, what I was going to tell you was Brother Emilio Green, he didn't feel, you know, he didn't feel to work with Haitians. And but Brother Rudy in Higuey and Fuchsia has two churches, and Rudy, he likes Brother Green. He works under Brother Green. He you know, he don't feel to work under Elias. He works under Brother Green. And so Brother Green likes Brother Rudy, and he helps him. Of course, Rudy works through him to me, and right now we're putting about a $12,000 roof on his church in Fuchsia. That church got probably 150 people in it, and we had the church is like this. It's got a roof over it like this, and Rudy, he had to tear this wall out and double the size of that church to hold the people. And so we're having to tear the whole roof off of it. It's going to cost us about $12,000 to put a new roof on it. You know, because we don't have to get metal. You know, I mean, if the best thing to do is put a concrete roof on buildings over there. We can't afford that. So we're putting strong metal structured, what would you call them, Brother Mark? Trusses and rafters and all that's metal, good strong metal instead of wood. A good strong hurricane blow roof off of it, and it's not absolutely secure with metal, but it's way more secure than it is with wood. But anyway, So Brother Green, you know, he wouldn't hardly work with. He didn't want to work with Haitian churches. And one day he called me. He said, Brother Smith, this man come to me and he wants to know about this message. And he said, I've been working with. He said he's Haitian. And he said he likes this message, and I've won him. He wants him and his church to be part of the body. And he said, so I'm helping him. He said he brought 4 other Haitian churches in. There's 5 of them churches. He said, what is God doing giving me all these Haitians? I said, well, Brother Green, evidently God wants us to know that we're to work with everybody that's in the Dominican Republic, whether they're Haitian or Dominican. So we got to accept whatever God brings us. You know, we just got to accept it and work with it. Anyway, those 5 churches been with us now 2 or 3 years, and they're doing good. In fact, I just helped Brother Jackie, which is he's the kind of the leader among them. I just helped him. He just built a building out of 2x4s. The whole building is built out of 2x4s with every kind of little piece of metal he could find just to screw to them 2x4s on the outside. I just spent about $1,000 on metal to help him get a roof on it. Anyway. That's I don't know what got me started telling y'all about that, but you know, y'all need to know kind of what's going on over there, because that's where your missionary money's going to that work over there. But what y'all need to know is there's about 1,000 saints in the body of Christ in the Dominican Republic that y'all help win them to the body of Christ. It was y'all supporting me and your support for over there, and God has helped us. They're all the time needing money, and I just give them money as it comes in, you know. And I have a few pastors in America that sends us regular monthly offerings, brother. Of course, Gary Green has really been probably the most supportive. He gives us money every month. He gives us about $400 or $500 a month for the missionary work, and he's gave us money like he helped me one time. We bought a $20,000 van over there. He paid for half of it, and this church paid for half of it. It took us a while to raise it, but we got it. But he's been a great support to me financially, but also Brother John Wright in Brother Freier's work has been faithful. Most of the time he'll just send us a check once a year, or sometimes twice a year when we're having a meeting or something. But generally it's around $2,000 or $3,000, or he'll send a good offering at least once a year, sometimes twice. And he's he has really of late really been a blessing to us and helped us. And Brother Tom Lord sends about $150, I think, every 2 months, isn't it, Sister Durham? Something like that. And Brother Ronald Wright has a small work in Bellingham, Washington. He sends us $100 every month. He started doing that when Brother William Ortiz went to Puerto Rico. He left Bellingham, Washington, and went there. And Brother Wright asked me if I would take care of him and help him. He said, I can't do that kind of work, and I don't have the way to do it. And he's older. Brother Wright's probably 80 years old now, somewhere close to that, I'd think. And so Brother William Ortiz, he looks to us. We're trying to get a work started with him there in Puerto Rico. Trying to think of who else. I mean, there's other men that sends offerings. Brother Bradley Miller from St. Louis sends us an offering every few months. We'll get an offering from him. Yes, Brother Livermore gives about $150 a month, I believe. I believe it's about every month. So then there are other brothers that give offerings, but they don't give it on a regular basis. But we, like in a Little Rock meeting, this past Little Rock meeting, we got a $10,000 missionary offering when I took up the offering. So that was a great help to me. That's helping me with some of the needs. We bought a van. It cost us $16,000. And I was planning on selling the little van. It's probably worth $4,000 or $5,000. The one we paid $20,000 for, it's a 2000 model. It's 14 years old. It's pretty well wore out, but it's still a pretty good little van. So I don't know. I was going to sell it, but I may just keep it and give it to one of the pastors that needs transportation. Me and Brother Gary Green bought a used van for just a few $1,000s a few years ago for Brother Rudy. He just had a wreck in it. It cost me $1,400 to fix it up. Anyway, it's always something. Anyway, I guess I blew this Bible study with a missionary report, but I feel like from time to time y'all need to know. I didn't even mean to talk on this, but when I got started on it, I just felt to continue. I think y'all do need to know about what's going on over there and what we're doing, and it's a viable work, saints. I'm telling you, we got a lot more going over there than we got going over here. I guarantee you, there is more churches and more people coming to the body of Christ over there than there is in America, I'd say. In America, we're not winning too many people from outside. We're transferring people from one pond to the other in the body of Christ. You know, our saints, our girls grow up and they get married and their husband takes them to another church or you know, and we're in a bad shape right now. We got a bunch of girls and no boys to marry anybody. Thank God, Brother Neth, you come through for us, but we're way behind on the boys marrying these girls that we got. We need to get somebody in here with a bunch of boys their ages, don't we? Anyway, let's see what I had. Something else I was going to tell you, but I don't remember what it was. I guess it'll hold. Anyway, we'll take a break, and we'll see y'all upstairs here in just a little while. God bless your hearts.